Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama,
Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Sharanam Mama, Sharanam Mama, Sharanam Mama, Sharanam Mama, Sharanam Mama. बोलिए श्री कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की
जय,
सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की
जय।
कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी,
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 मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी,
मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी,
मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी,
मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी,
माई मीरा प्रभु गिरिधारी,
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 कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी,
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 वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी,
वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी,
वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी,
वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी,
सूरदास के हृदय विहारी,
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 कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी,
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 मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी,
मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी,
मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी,
मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी,
Hari Om everyone. Can you all see me and hear me clearly? Awesome. I see some strangers visiting us today. Welcome back, all of you. There are a couple of them who are joining us from Florida area. So welcome to you all as well. So last week, those who joined, we did not pick you on for question answers and such things. But this week, as you'll be hearing it clearly, so you'll have time to prep, you'll have time to ask questions, get answered. And therefore, the third week from now, you will also be picked for question answers. Just letting you know. Otherwise, are you all doing well? Awesome. So we'll start with the short invocation and then we will launch ourselves into this 13th chapter, which is called Sheaths. Don't start searching for swords. There is no sword here. There is only sheath here. So we will get into that. So let's begin. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. If we go back into this particular book, the last 12 chapters that we have seen, in these 12 chapters, in order to find a balance of how to handle ourselves in the outside world, how to balance ourselves in the inside world of feelings, emotions, thoughts, decisions, ideas, vision, goal, accomplishments, and a lot of things inside. We have been discussing on this particular concept that the closer we are to the core, to the center of our own being, the stabler we are. Stability comes from how close are we with our own self, with our own true nature. The farther that we are away from our core, that agitated, that remote, that without grasp, that without grip, that we will feel. And thereby feel that we are being tossed all across. So then we had to discuss, hey, this whole concept of core of one's own being, and I can understand core of my beliefs, core of my conviction. What is this core of self? So in that, Puja Gurudev takes up the discussion of this BMI chart, which is right behind me or right next to me, however you want to see it. When, as I'm arranging this, it is one behind the other. So technically it is behind me. So this BMI chart that we see, body, mind, intellect, perceiver, feeler, thinker, objects, emotions, thoughts, and each one of us have these 9 layers. But each one of us behaves distinctly different from each other, though we may have been born in the same environment, raised in the same environment with similar kinds of opportunities, but still we find that each one of us has a different way of understanding, different way of feeling, different way of grasp, different way of expressing everything. And that happens because of we, which is the vasanas. Vasanas are the layers of impressions. Behind all these layers, or underneath all these layers, the substratum, the very essence because of which the body, mind, and intellect functions, because of which there is a perceiver, feeler, thinker, because of which I can see the objects, I can feel the emotions, I can think different thoughts. That is represented by Om or Paramatma or the supreme reality, the core of our own being. Usually, where are we in this whole cycle? So if we look at it, we are somewhere over there in the OET of how many objects do I possess? What is the condition of my emotions? And then this new age self-help books would say that love yourself. Love yourself meaning love this particular area here, the feeler and the emotions, and feel good about it. It's the feel good factor. That is where we are usually. Or we are lost in our thoughts, ideas, convictions. We are always on a crossroads about it. Should I do this? Should I not do this? To do or not to do? To be or not to be? That's the great question. We always are in that conundrum. That is the most external realm that we always exist in and function from. The stability is not there. It is a very volatile, wobbly kind of an environment. And in that environment, we are trying to find peace. Being in that environment, we try to close our eyes, have the essential oils or the agarbatti, or a nice light ambiance of it. We create all this gymnastics and say, I'm trying to feel my peace. And there are techniques where, breathe in positive, breathe out negative. वो कोई करके दिखाओ यार. Really? You cannot snort positivity and push out negativity. That is not how it happens. But we are sold on that. I also close my eyes, breathe in positivity, breathe out negativity. No, that's not how it happens. So therefore, Gurudev went into why are we so caught up in this externality, the field of actions? How should we function in that field of actions based out of our values? Brahmacharya, Satya, Ahimsa, those were the values that were brought in. Then while having these values functioning in the outside field, there is a sense of efficiency and balance. Both have to be struck. If we try to be efficient, we want to get it in that short time span, then the balance is lost. Frustrations are building up. If I try to do everything in that calm, composed, what was that movie? Zootopia, I think, where the DPS clerk, I want to tell you a joke. And everything has to go in that kind of, no, if you hit that kind of a balance, then the efficiency is gone, tossed out of the window. To be efficient and yet be balanced, just like a gymnast. How does one achieve it? That efficiency, dexterity, and balance was touched upon in the next chapter, where we have the energy, but we get dissipated. How does one conserve that energy and use it efficiently while maintaining the inner balance? Now, this inner balance brings about the topic of our mind. What exactly does it take? What are the components of this mind? How does one rein in some kind of control, some kind of understanding that the equipment that I should be working with, I can feel that it is in my grip, rather than I be dancing to the tunes of my own mind, my own feelings, my own emotions? How do I channelize them properly? Therefore, the law of karma was introduced. How does one apply oneself in the field of karma, understanding all the above concepts said, but with an attitude? Yes, you can carry this attitude. If somebody says you got an attitude, you can say, yes, I have got the karma yoga attitude. And what is that attitude? That everything that I do it selflessly, offering it at the altar of the highest, which is divine, which is Paramatma, which is Ishvara. While I'm doing it, I do it selflessly, without anticipating, looking forward for anything selfish in that for my own sake. Dedicating at the highest altar and being selfless. That is in short. When there's a lot that we spoke about, but this is in little short understanding. Then in order to understand why we get triggered with so many emotions, so many feelings, as though it feels like I am not in control of it. It just, it's a double whammy. Outside world, I don't have a balance. Inside world, it keeps creating tornadoes, mini tornadoes. One I try to get in control of, the other starts. The other I try. Have you played this game called Twister? Where on a screen or a board, there is this different color patterns that are shown, and you have to put your hands and legs, and you have to touch a part of your body to that. And by the time you are done, you are in such an awkward position that even to maintain a balance, if somebody just, they don't even have to tickle you. Show the finger that they're coming close to you, you will and you'll fall. That is how our life is. So Gurudev went through how these vasanas trigger all this, and how does one strike a balance. In order to strike a balance, we need to understand the gunas and the functionality of these gunas. How does one use the gunas and be gunatita? Be a witness of it, using it. Now comes the next layer, which is the sheaths. And with my title here that I have put it clearly that it is 5 sheaths that we have. Presently, I am in 2 sheaths, one upper cloth and one inner cloth. If somebody is wearing a tuxedo, so there is a t-shirt inside, then there is a shirt on there, then there is a vest, and then there is a coat, and then if you are in New York, maybe a bigger raincoat kind of a thing, a trench coat kind of a thing. So by the time you go to a party, you have to, like, one after the other, layers after layers, you have to peel like an onion. Similarly, the self, imagine that it is, though it is all pervading, but because of our attachment to the field of OET and PFT and the BMI, it feels as though it is under several layers. What are these layers? Another way of looking at this entire BMI chart is this 5 layers. So they are called, I'll use the technical word, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. So wait a second. Can you say it again? If you have the book, it is on the second page itself. The technical words: Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. Understand it something like there is a flashlight and you left it on your bed, but your sibling, your brother or sister, came in with your laundry that was sitting in the dryer because they had to use it. They brought it and dumped it on that bed where you had the flashlight. You come inside and you're searching for the flashlight. Now it is like it's a little dark, so you need a flashlight to see a flashlight. Why? Because it seems like it has been covered. Though it is lit, though it is available, it is covered. As all that you have to do is push that covering away. Literally, physically remove that. And by removing it, the already illumining flashlight is revealed. It reveals its nature. Something similar to that would be that we have, with our own identifications, as though dumped these layers, and we have gotten that far away. So we will go from the grossest to the subtlest. So the grossest, we start with the food sheath, Annamaya. Okay, before we go there, what does this Maya mean? Maya means, say, the quotient that it is filled with. Gurudev used to give this example, and I love this example, so I keep repeating it as many times. I'm sure you all love coffee, a cup of nice warm coffee. And if it is really good filter coffee, at least that is what I have grown up acclimatizing with. So you give me whatever coffee, filter coffee stands 10 feet above it. Atyatishtat dashangulam. That is where filter coffee stands. It's a different standard of its own. So you have different kinds of coffee. So if you go to South India, Southern India, especially Tamil Nadu, they'll give you the coffee which is very dark, and you have to mix it, and the mixing itself is an art, because एक पतीला होता है, एक glass होता है, a small cup, and there is a glass in which they're very shots, like they're literally shots of it, a small glass, and then in that you hold and pour it into this little cup, and in that you now start your expertise. Initially you will keep doing it this way, and as you become an expert, you can raise the cup above, and there is at least 1.5 meters in between, and as it lands into this cup, it froths up, and then you pour it quickly into the glass, and then the frothy. But if you are not acclimatized with it and you taste it, you will immediately find that that coffee is predominantly filled with decoction. The coffee, the black coffee, is in large percentage. Milk and sugar is nama matra, is just put in just for the flavor part. Okay, from there you move to, say, Gujarat. As I keep saying, Gujarat is wrongly named. You should be calling them as Gudjat. In Hindi, there is this word called Gud, means jaggery. They love their sweets, and they make even their achar, their pickles. They have it as sweet pickle. I mean, in my head, it doesn't sit well. Like, if it is a pickle, it has to be spicy. If it has to be sweet, it has to be a laddu or a kaju katli or something. You cannot mix both. It doesn't match up here, at least in my head. That is my vasana, okay? But they have everything good. So if you ask for a cup of coffee, when I was studying in college, we would say they have coffee which is called khada chammach. That you have the coffee poured in, and they have so much of sugar that if you put a spoon in it, the spoon will literally stand because it has a nice base of sugar in it. So it is predominantly, there will be coffee, there will be milk, but it is sugar maya. The earlier one was decoction maya. This is sugar maya. You go further up north in Punjab. In Punjab, when you go, you will find that, first of all, you should know what to order, what to eat in what place. You don't go to northern India and ask for idli. You don't come to South India and ask for paratha. If you are in Punjab, you should be having lassi or malai doodh or something like that. But if you ask for coffee, what will happen? They'll have a big glass, literally this big glass, what we call here as tall vente grande, right? So I'll add a fourth size. The fourth size will be jumbo. It'll be bigger than that. And it'll be filled with milk, at least 1.5 inches of thick cream. In Hindi, we call it malai. Thick cream and 2 drops of coffee. In that world, that is the coffee. Then that coffee can be called as dugdhamaya, milkmaya. That which it is predominant of. If you get the idea of it, what is Annamaya? That which is born of food, sustains on food, dies to become food for another organism. That is what this body is. Isn't it? Whether you burn or bury, what happens to this body? It will putrefy to become nice fertilizer. One day I had this very young, amazing mind, a very young kid who was listening to these concepts. And after listening, I said, this body is nothing but packages of fertilizer. And we went for a walk. And in comparison to me, that fellow was way thinner. And at one particular point, there was this, of that garden where we were walking, the tree branches were really leaning low. And that fellow, something tickled him, and he was like literally on the floor laughing. So it took him a while to gather himself up, and I was like standing there. I was not amused because I don't know what he's laughing at. And when somebody is laughing crazily and you are the only one next to, and that joke is not being shared, you feel little annoyed. So I waited for him to finish up and then I said, dude, it better not be on me. Okay. I'll be really ticked. He said, no, no. In the lecture, you said that we are bags of fertilizer. Guess what these two branches of the trees, two trees that have come in, they're discussing, they're having a group discussion on our Vedantic topic. Like, which of these two who will be passing underneath us would be a good snack, good fertilizing snack? And then I saw you and I saw me. Definitely me, Boni, will not be a great choice. Swamiji, it will be you. They're leaning in forward for you. I said, wow, what an imagination. Isn't it? The body, whether even when you burn it, and it has to be taken and submerged into the perennial rivers or the ocean. So when you drop it into the perennial rivers, where does all this ash go? It mixes into that water and feeds directly into the agricultural lands. So it becomes a fertilizing agent. One way or the other, this body ends up being food for another organism. Born of food, sustained on food, ends up becoming food for other forms. That is what this body is. That which we try maintaining so well, spend so much of time, layers after layers we pour on this skin, on the hair, on... You go to the mall, stall after stall after stall is filled only with how to maintain this body. Why? Because we want to be forever 21. We like our gaps. I'm talking all the brand names now. Physically, when you look at it, it has 5 organs of action, 5 organs of perception. I'm talking not of the faculty, not of the software, but as the limbs. The 2 hands, the 2 legs, there's a mid-torso, and there is a head. And head seems to be a central processing unit because there is a lot of I/O. There's a lot of input-output devices fixed right here. There are 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, mouth, which acts as both the taste and the speech. So what are these 5 organs of perception? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. 5. And then the 5 organs of action are the hands, the legs, organ of speech, the genital organ, and the organs of evacuation. Because if there is input, there has to be output. Otherwise, the system constipated will not have good functionality. So here we are talking only of the limbs part. Little subtler than this is called Pranamaya Kosha. What is Pranamaya Kosha? There are 5 layers there. Have you ever seen any of us brahmacharis or swamins, before we eat food, we usually sprinkle water on that food and then circle some water around that food, and we are muttering something under our breath. Say Brahmar Panam Brahma Brahmagnav Brahmana Hutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. And then sprinkle some water on that food. Satyantvartena Parishinchami Amrutamasi Amrutopastaranamasi Swaha. May this food bring me that immortality until the next batch of food is offered. So, what are the mantras chanted then? There is pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha, samanaya swaha, vyanaya swaha, udanaya swaha, right? And then brahmane swaha. Now, when do we say that? Just as the step, even for Bhagwan, when we are offering, we chant this very mantra and offer the food. And offering the food, it should confuse you, because we are not offering it to Bhagwan. Who are we offering it to? We are offering it to this Panchapranas, the 5 sheath of, or 5 layers of the Prana Shakti. Now, why is it that? Because of these 5 aspects of Prana Shakti, I would like to use the word Prana Shakti. I don't want to translate it into breath energy or life energy. Those don't cut it. It is that energy because of which all the physiological actions that happen within this body, they happen because of this 5 pranas. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. These are the 5 layers. Now, what are the kinds of activities that these do? The prana. The prana is that life breath which enlivens, without which we even say, like in Hindi, iske pran gaye. So that life breath is called prana, because of which there is the perception of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching that can happen. The apana, now apana is that which removes things from the body. So it is the body excreta, urine, feces, even the phlegm. Perspiration is also an activity of this apana. It's good to perspire. It's not a bad thing. I am perspiring. When you are out in the hot sun, if not perspiring, that is how body is designed. And that happens because of this apana vayu. Now samana has multiple functions. One of the functions is to digest the food, and it also is to, I would say, maintain a balance. There are several things that have to be balanced within the body. Pressure has to be balanced. That's why many people, when I take them for trekking to Kailash, Manasarovar, or Kedarnath, Badrinath, into those really good heights, 14,000 and up feet, many people start feeling very dizzy. Why? Their blood pressure has changed. And the body is now trying to acclimatize itself to this new pressure variant, so that the body is in the balanced pressure. No pressure means dead. No, it has to have balanced pressure. Then the body needs to maintain temperature. It has to be consistent, 37 degrees Celsius. Imagine how much we have taken it for granted. Supposing we are working in the garden, it has been 80-90 degrees outside, and you've been sweating. So the body is now trying to acclimatize by oozing out all these. The samana then kicks in the apana, and the apana brings out the perspiration, with which the temperature are cool down, and we suddenly step into back in home where it is nice, cozy, controlled, altered temperature. And now the body has to kick in its method to rebalance it, because it is colder inside. Now the body has to reacclimatize itself. It's constantly doing it. I used to wonder, like, when I was young, the only reason I thought that we have this nostril with two holes, the only purpose for it is to keep these glasses in place. उससे कोई फायदा, when I didn't see more benefit than that. It's only later when I read this, is when I understood that there is Ida, Pingala, there are two channels, and you would observe that very rarely you will find that both the nostrils are open. One side always seems little stuffy or blocked. Why does that happen? Because one is called Surya Nadi, one which generates heat. The other is called Chandra Nadi, which generates cooling effect to this body. Therefore, when you are doing pranayama, you are trying to strike that balance in that prana shakti. So it is not just breathing exercises. There is a meticulous effect of bringing that balance. Therefore, the count of it, therefore, the technique of it has to be learnt properly. Cannot be messing around with it. So this is the prana shakti. We have already studied Manomaya. In this particular chapter here, we saw the mind and intellect and its difference. Mind and intellect are nothing but layers of thought, but the texture of its functionality decides. Like, when we hold this cloth and I feel the texture of it, with the feel of texture, I should be able to understand whether it is made up of cotton, whether it's terry cotton, whether it is nylon, whether it is silk. I should be able to understand by the texture of it, right? Similarly, the texture of this thought, when the thought is of indecisive nature, that sense of indecisiveness is called the mind. When it is the thought of feelings, then it is called the mind. When it is of the emotions, then it is called mind. Whereas when the thought texture is of the nature of decisiveness, convictions, ideas, that is called the intellect. And there are more differences, but I'll leave it at that. You can go back to that particular chapter of mind where we dove really deep to understand these differences. We had made a complete chart of it. So Manomaya is this layer where the mind sheath or the mind functions. And in the intellectual sheath, it is the decision making which starts functioning. Now when we come to the last part, and the last part is called the most confusing part, the bliss sheath. Now this bliss sheath is often referred to with several names. And luckily we have all those names put in here as a list. One, it is called a bliss sheath. It is also called bundle of vasanas. It is also called the state of ignorance. It is also called the state of deep sleep. It is also called the state of non-apprehension. It is called the causal body. But here, when we say it is bliss Sheath. What does it mean? I mean, there are books written on this particular aspect. So I will try to make it as simple, as easily understandable as possible. The most intense aspect of this bliss sheath is experienced during our deep sleep state. I just came back from India and I had two reasons to not start immediately. One was I was quarantining myself. वैसे सच बोलूं तो quarantining बहाना था. The main reason was the next one. There is something called jet lag. It is real. And during that jet lag, the intensity with which you can sleep, unmatched ever. I mean, like you can fall asleep like a rock. In Hindi they would say sudh budh khona. Like, you have lost all touch with anything external. You experience that deep sleep, and when you wake up from that deep sleep, you feel so rejuvenated, you feel so fresh, you feel so energetic, you feel so light. Why? You're just coming out of that ananda. The only sad part is, while you are in that ananda, you did not know that you are in ananda. Right? What good is that ananda when I did not know that I was in that ananda? Gurudev used to say, in deep sleep you are closest to Paramatma. But alas, you do not know it. After hearing this in one of my camps, parents immediately started calling me saying, Swamiji, kya padha diya aapne? What did you teach our children? Why? We tried waking them up in the morning for the school. They're saying, don't disturb us, we are with Paramatma. So I also laughed with them. I said, okay, I'm going to do one thing. When they wake up and come to the kitchen because hunger will strike, tell them that Paramatma doesn't care about hunger, sleep, hunger, food or thirst. They can continue their sleep. Food is now not in their perspective. We cannot continue there. That is one place where we can experience this real bliss sheath. But this bliss sheath also percolates in our waking realm as well. How does it express? It expresses as, I'm using technical words, I don't think that it has been used in this particular book, but please write down. Priya Moda Pramoda. How do I explain this? Usually I take this example. You ask an Indian what is their favorite fruit, they will say mango. There are several varieties of it. I'll put them in two classifications: raw mango and ripe mango. So for this example, I will take raw mango. Have you guys ever eaten a raw mango? I'm not talking here in America. When you are in India, have you ever eaten a raw mango? Now let me increase the stakes. Have you ever plucked a raw mango from the tree, washed it and immediately cut it and eat it? Hi. You are missing out, man. My mouth is already watering. So when you take that raw mango, freshly plucked, and you wash it You peel the skin, nicely slice it, remove the center portion, the seed portion out, slice it, and spread thin slices like the deck of cards. So spread it in the plate and sprinkle some salt, and then sprinkle some red chili powder, not flakes, powder. And then there's a magic of burst that happens in your mouth. As you bite into it, it is really sour, salty, spicy, all at the same time. मुंह में तो पानी छूट रहे भाई. So when you think of it, imagine it. There is an amount of joy when you think of something like that, right? When you think of your loved ones, there is a certain amount of joy, a smile on your face. That remembrance of something which you like, the zone there, that where you reach, is called Priya. Next is Moda. Sometimes when I give this visceral examples, it turns as a double whammy. Once I was giving in certain place, I don't know why I was talking, but I was talking about bhindi ki sabji, okra curry. The next 7 days that I was in that particular city, all that I got to eat was okra after okra after okra after okra. Because people thought because I gave it an example that I must be really loving it. I'm like, thank goodness I did not give an example of the bitter gourd, Karela. Otherwise, day in and day out, it will be Karela after Karela after Karela. So, supposing somebody heard this, brought a real raw mango, sliced, cut, salted, and and they called me and they said, Swamiji, I'm right there 2 minutes away from your house. It's not an imagination anymore. I now know that it is going to be a reality. That realm where I know it is yet to become a reality, but I know it is going to be for sure. The zone where we are, the anticipatory zone where we are, that is called Moda. And Pramoda is where, when that which is Dvaita in front of me becomes Advaita in me. You understand? That which is separate from me, that which is other than me, that which is away from me, I pick it up and then take a bite. Ki me taditi. Areva. Now, Areva is the kind of an expression when it matches your experience, prior experience. And all this built up anticipation, you take a bite, it is not even sour. So there is this joy, that too of 3 different shades. When we experience from the material world, it is not actually a result of a material world, but it is because of this bliss sheath that it comes to the conscious surface, and we wrongly attribute that which comes to the conscious surface to the material. When I say I'm so happy, I got this. That happiness is not because I got it. That happiness is being attributed to what I've gotten. So when somebody looks at you and says, oh, I'm so happy to see you, apply the same logic. It is the same logic. But we fall for it, right? Oh, really? You missed me? I also missed you. But we are wrongly attributing it. We are attributing it to people, to places, to experience, to material. But in reality, it is my own nature surfacing to that conscious aspect. And I explain it to you in 3 different realms as Priya, Moda, Pramoda. The last aspect is more important. I had this particular message before we started the class. I don't know if you paid attention to it. The supreme reality, Paramatman, is all pervading and eternal and is one without a second. For such a divine truth, how can there be a within or a without? There is no in and out. It is homogeneously present everywhere at all times, in all circumstances, uniformly. There's no doubt about it. But do we experience this core? Do we experience it? We don't. Why? We are lost in these layers that we are embedded in through the body, mind, and intellect, through the perceiver, feeler, thinker, through the objects, emotions, thoughts. We are constantly being tossed in these layers. Now, how does one find balance? Finding balance is the application of Karma Yoga. Finding balance is the application of puja, japa, likhita japa, dhyana of your Ishtadevata. Finding balance is educating the intellect of its true nature, which is called satsanga. Shravana, manana, nididhyasana happens. With the karma yoga, the physical, with the bhakti yoga, the emotional, with the jnana, it is the intellectual. We bring in balance. And that understanding to be ascertained. Then such individual meditates, transcending the effects of these 5 layers. One then, or at least to have a manageable balance on it. I'm not very confident about my driving, but I have a little understanding of it. I have tried it, but I'm not confident in these busy roads. But I know. But you are the only driver. I'll try. So you will very apprehensively sit in it, and first you, by the 4th, 5th time you get in, you become an expert at it. That you are on a cell phone with one hand on the wheel and you are like, you are drifting. The expertise comes in. Expertise is not in running away from these. While being in it, striking a balance and expressing with efficiency. That is what one has to aim at. How do I know I am progressing? Is there efficiency? Is there that internal quietude and balance? With that, I will stop this week. If you have any questions by Thursday, please, without a reminder, hopefully you will ask questions. पूछ के questions लेने पड़ते हैं वरना. So please ask your questions unhesitatingly and I will try answering them next week. So if I can call upon Hemant. Can you spotlight Hemant, please? Hari Om, Hemant.
Hari Om.
Can you help us chant Hanuman Chalisa this week, please?
Yes. श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधारि वरणो रघुवर बिमल यश जोदायक फलचारि बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरौ पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेस विकार जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बल धाम अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नाम महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन वरण विराज सुवेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र ध्वजा बिराजे कांधे मूंज जनेयु साज शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर समारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे लाय सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही सम भाई सहस बदन तुम रोजस गावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहिसा यम कुबेर दिक्पाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीना राम मिलाय राजपद दीना तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जान युग सहस्र जो जन पर भानु लील्योताहि मधुर फल जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माहि चल दिलांगी गए अचरज नाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुमरे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे हो तना आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी शरण तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज सवारो आपे तीनों लोक हाकते कांपे भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम बचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा तिनके काज सकल तुम साज और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा हे पर सिद्ध जगत उजियार साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता असवर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पास सदा रहो रघुपति के दास तुम्हारे भजन राम को भावे जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई और देवता चित्तन धरई हनुमत से ही सर्व सुख करई संकट कटे मिठे सब पीरा जो सुमिरै हनुमत बलवीरा जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करौ गुरुदेव की नाई जो शत बार पाठ कर कोई छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा होई सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा कीजे नाथ हृदय महडेरा कीजे नाथ हृदय महडेरा पवन तनय संकट हरण मंगल मूर्ति रूप राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसहु सुरभूप। सिया रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय, बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय।
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्।
Thank you, Hari. We'll conclude the class. For those of you who have just joined us this week, if you ever missed the class or if you want to go back to the class and re-listen to it, all of this is live on YouTube. So you will be getting the YouTube channel, which will be Swami Sarveshananda YouTube channel. So you can go there and listen to it. And if you happen to subscribe, it will come as an email and you will know where exactly to go. The link will be provided. So you don't have to look out for it. So please do that and you will be constantly updated. We'll conclude today's session. I will expect your questions at least by Thursday evening, and please ask as many questions. You're welcome, and I'll try answering all of them. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaः, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kasyat Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shant Shant Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Take care, everyone. See you next Sunday for the question answers.